So how are you doing?
Good.
Great. Congratulations on this film. It's just such an important film, and you put in such a gorgeous performance.
Thanks,
and I just want to say congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
But something I'm very interested in is that it's a very internal performance. It's a very quiet, withdrawn performance. I'm wondering what the key is to drawing out these big emotions when most of them happen below the surface.
I think the key for me was in studying the book, because the book is, I think if you look at the photos of Garrett at the time, and you can see something's wrong, but you really can't tell exactly what. So it could be anything that's a matter. But when I get to look at the book, I see specifically what's going on, and I just took a lot of inspiration from that. Because you're right, it is hard to tell a story through through mostly listening. That's that was one of my biggest the biggest challenges of this product, and I turn to the book a lot.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was wondering if there's anything specific from the book, any passage or anything, one specific thing that's sort of stuck in the back of your mind throughout the entire project.
Yeah, I think he describes at one point the experience of walking into a room and that he felt as though he had brought in some dark energy, or some there was something that people would turn and look at him and see that there was something wrong with him. That to me was the epitome of the character, is that little moment.
So you were born and raised in Brooklyn, and your parents were both artists. They were both writers and actors, which is about as far removed from Jared's life as possible. I'm wondering how you managed to immerse yourself in just the everything around the character, the where he lived, the society is in, and stuff like that.
Well, I think I do try to do as much work as possible, but when Russell Crowe arrives on set, and when it's my first time to do a scene with him, and I've never met him before, there is an air of deep intimidation that comes up, which I think is everything I really need as an actor in that moment. And I find that all the true gems, the things that really live in the film, are what's happening immediately in that moment. I can do all the research I want and need, but at the end of the day, it's whatever goes on in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested in, you mentioned that first scene with Russell Crowe. I'm wondering what it was and what it was like to
It's kind of a
relate.
somewhat insignificant scene where we're in the kitchen. It's the first time I think you meet him, and I ask if I can sleep over at my girlfriend's house. And I just remember all the air was sucked out. The second he stepped in, I was I don't know, it was just everyone became obsessed with how to take care of Russell. And I was just I don't know. I didn't know how to ask for what I needed in that moment. It's not that he was being needy. It was just that everybody wanted to please him.
I've seen you say that you really zeroed in on Jared's journey of self-acceptance. I'm wondering if you could sort of explain a little, and what you did relate to in that part of the character.
Yeah. Well, I see myself as a very weird person, somebody who for the most part has been described has I don't know. I feel I'm not saying my life is some crazy life where I've been abused by people, but I do feel when a lot of people get to know me, they're surprised by how weird I am. And I feel a lot of it's still really hard for me to fully own the aspects of myself, how I dance and how I my sense of humor. And this story in its own way, it helps me with that, and it helps me stop trying to cater to all the people around me who don't seem to have any interest in my weirdness, I guess.
Well, it's interesting, because I'm wondering if you were aware of that parallel throughout the process, or if it sort of came.
Yeah, I remember Garrett saying that one of the reasons why he was most excited that I was going to do this movie is that I was a weirherito. He told me
fair.
that.
Fair.
And I think the last thing he wanted was somebody who inherent. It's easy for me to play the part of somebody who fits in, but genuinely, I'm very different. And he and I suppose everyone is, but I feel it in particular with myself. And he really he didn't want somebody who could just coast through. somebody who had something different about them, you know.
And I also recently saw something, an interview you did, where you said when you're doing stuff like this, sort of the press and talking about your films, and you're sort of trying on different hats, you're sort of still figuring out what kind of.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you think at all that's helped you as an actor, just sort of.
Yeah, definitely. I don't. I really don't. I still don't entirely know what group it is I belong in. Like with respect to friend, I have so many different friend groups that represent so many different, you know, it's like so many different kinds of ways of living. And I think it definitely serves me. In that respect, it doesn't feel like any one project is more me than the next. You know, they all feel like an expression of who I am, and they all feel like worlds that can contain all of me and a part of me at the same time.
When you're playing a character, and this isn't a direct copy of the memoir. It's not. You're not playing an exact version of the character. But I'm wondering if when it's something based on a real person's story, how do you put a part of you into the character? How do you avoid just being a straight copy of a real person?
Well, I think it's kind of. I think it would be pretty impressive if I could just be a straight copy of him. If I could do that,
and you're just an impressionist.
That would be pretty great. I don't know how to do that. I only know how to do it from me. So, if anything, that's like speaks as much to my lack of an ability to copy him as much as it does to my lack of desire to copy him. I don't know how to do that. Yeah.